So in 2020, when everybody else got into the cycling habit, I had taken some time off of classes and stuff, and I too pulled my bike out of storage and started, getting into some cycling groups on Facebook, started watching cycling videos on YouTube, and started upgrading the bike. It was a Mongoose full suspension or dual suspension, whatever, mountain bike I bought off of Amazon probably 5 years prior to that, so 2015, 2016, somewhere in there. And through the course of owning the bike and getting back into riding it, I kind of started changing things, change out the bars, did some, as I learned more about, ergonomics and stuff like that, I changed parts out. And then the bike, when I bought it, had a 21-speed drivetrain, so 3 in the front, 7 speeds in the rear. And I started thinking, hey, everybody's going to a one-by setup. Why don't I go to a one-by as well? And I decided to, I didn't really want to put a whole bunch of money into the bike, because I'm like, I'm going to basically use this bike to get myself into shape. And then when I go forward, then I'll, get a new bike with a, one-by drivetrain and all the latest, everything on it. So I started modifying things, and I changed out the drivetrain, and I ended up finding an 8-speed freewheel, because I didn't have a free hub and cassette. I had a free wheel on the bike, so found one that was compatible on Amazon, bought a different chain so it would be narrow enough to, not hit on the frame and stuff like that, because the bike wasn't meant to be an 8-speed in the rear. So I had a lot of tolerance issues. Changed out the shifters, changed out brake levers. I mean, there was a ton of stuff I've done to this bike. At this point, well, at present, the only thing that hasn't been changed on the bike is the frame itself. I've pretty much went through everything on that bike at this point. Could I have bought a complete bike? Yes, I could have. But the reason why I didn't, and the reason why I stand by the route I went with my particular build, is if I went and just bought a bike, I'd be trusting my local bike shop, or even a bike shop, out of town, with what they deem ideal for me. Whereas having switched things, I know I want a wider handlebar if I go with a straight bar. I know certain things that I want on the bike, and things that I don't want that. So going back to the bike, and what really prompted me to make this video was a couple days ago I got an email from Strava. And I don't use Strava to be, hey, I'm king of the mountain or king of the hill, whatever they call it. I don't use it for, hey, look at me, look, I'm the fastest rider in town kind of thing. I use it just to be able to compare myself to myself. I want to know that I'm riding better today than I was yesterday. So I got an email, and it showed in 2020, up to this point, I've had 10 rides. And when I saw that, it was disappointing. One, I thought I'd ridden more this year, but in reality I hadn't. And I kind of attribute that because when I did that 8-speed conversion, there were some problems. Even when I changed out the wheel set and went to an 11-speed cassette, there were still problems. It wasn't until I bought I can't think of the word, but it's basically the derailleur hanger alignment tool. I purchased one on Amazon, took my derailleur off, put that on there, and realized, and really, actually, it was before I bought that tool. When I was looking at the frame, I'm like, that mount looks like it's bent a little bit. It looked, and I kind of tell where it looked like it was kind of bent. I think bent out and bent in the front. So the derailleur hanger was not in anything of proper alignment. Don't know when it happened. Could have happened at some point when I was, taking a break and riding, because there was one point, it was either at the beginning of this year or the end of last year, where I'd gotten off the bike, went to take a picture to use for my Garmin stats, and a little gust of wind knocked the bike over. So it may have bent the hanger, because I don't remember which side the bike fell on at this point. It may have been the drive side, and if that's the case, that's probably when the hanger got broken or bent. Definitely bent, because this frame it's an integrated hanger. If you're familiar with mountain bikes, some you can just replace the whole thing. Some it's part of the frame, especially on your lower end or older bikes. But I think that problem, because it would, anytime the drivetrain was under a load, it would skip gears. And if you're climbing, which on my ride, there's a couple areas where there is a decent little climb, and especially when I was clipped in, because I had done the whole, went with the clipless pedals and clipless shoes and stuff like that, and I ended up switching to a pair of pedals that on one side they're flat, the other side they use the Crank Brothers cleats. And I did that because when I'm just troubleshooting the bike, I don't want to have to throw on my cycling shoes. And also when I'm, trying to build that confidence back, it allows me to just use normal shoes, and I don't have to, stress about unclipping and stuff like that. So the whole point of this is, on my particular bike, when I was modifying stuff, when I ran into having issues and things weren't working correct, I developed, I guess, a fear for the bike. I didn't want to be riding because I knew that it would jump out of gear, and that made the riding not enjoyable, because the bike wasn't reliable. And because it wasn't reliable, I didn't want to ride, so I didn't ride the bike at all. And after seeing that information from Strava in that email, this past weekend I went and did 2 rides. One, I went and did about a 6-mile little ride. It was a little windy, so I didn't want to be out where I wasn't really protected from the wind. It was a little cold, a little windy, so I just kind of stayed, rode in the neighborhood kind of thing. Today I went out and did about a 14.63 mile ride, I think, 14, somewhere in there. But what really, I guess, you can kind of, if you get discouraged with your bike, it's all right to take that break. Take that break, build up the trust in your bike, but be ready to get back on it once that trust is there. Get back on and start riding again. I very much do enjoy riding my bike. I'm one of those people, you read in the groups where it's, a lot of people say, oh, you don't need the computer, you don't need the cadence sensors and this sensor and that and the heart rate, just go out there and ride. And, I do agree with that, but to some people, and especially myself, I enjoy having the feedback from the bike. I enjoy when I get back from my ride, I get all that information, how many calories I burned, that my ride today was better than my ride I did yesterday, it was better than my ride 2 weeks ago. I like to be able to see, that I'm improving in my ride, and having those little stats, is helpful with that, So if that's what gets you going on your bike and makes you enjoy cycling more, by all means do it. And I guess part of me also wants to bring this up in this video, is that I'm all for supporting, because I'm sure I'm going to get some comments on this, I'm all for supporting your local bike shop, but on my bike, and this is kind of, I guess, speaking to if there's any people in the bike shop community watching this, I wanted to change things on my bike. I called my local bike shop and said, hey, here's the type of bike I have. This is what I want to do. And I was basically told, there's no point, just buy a whole new bike. And, I understand that while what I wanted to do wasn't cost effective, I've definitely invested into this bike enough to buy a whole nother bike. But to me, part of the hobby is modifying the bike, is changing parts, is upgrading things, is making the bike, maybe better today than it was yesterday, or, you know, obviously sometimes when you change things, you know, you're going to take a step back before you can take that step forward, but, you know, it is what it is. So, if you are running a bike shop or something and a customer comes to you and says, you know, I have this bike, this is what I want to do, you know, if what they want to do is just physically impossible, then by all means, you know, inform them of that. But if it's something that they're set on doing, you know, let them know, hey, this isn't the most economical way. You know, you're probably going to spend more than what it would cost to buy a whole new bike. But if that's what you're wanting to do, you know, I'll see what parts we need and we'll figure it out and I'll get you a quote. If you have input on that, you know, by all means, give that feedback. So, thanks for watching. I'm going to try and keep doing more of these videos more frequently, you know, just on whatever topic I can come up with. So, thanks for watching. Have a good one.